Okay, so we're diving into the world of comedy today.
But not just any comedian's journey. No,
Yeah.
no. You wanted the inside scoop on Steve Hofstetter
I
and,
gotta say, the more I looked at all the stuff you sent over,
yeah.
the more I realized, wow, there's a lot more to this guy than just like, you know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
heckler takedowns, you know what I
Not
mean?
like
We're talking someone who really, like, kind of shook up the comedy scene.
in some pretty unexpected ways.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that.
I mean, he's almost like a case study
Right.
in how to build a comedy career now in the digital age.
It's true, and it all starts.
With that,
Yeah.
classic New York upbringing, right?
Hmm.
Wikipedia tells us Hunter College High School.
Straight to Columbia University, so
Wow.
I'm already sensing a theme here, right?
Uh-huh.
The guy clearly loves a good book almost as much as a good punchline.
It's no coincidence.
Right?
Trust me, you
Yeah.
can't underestimate that New York.
That intellectual comedy scene,
True.
the influence it has. Think about it. I mean, Woody Allen,
Yeah,
Jerry Seinfeld,
of course.
they cut their teeth in that same environment.
Totally.
And you can see those sharp observational roots in Hofstetter's work, too.
Absolutely. So we've got this, like,
Sharp wit honed in the halls of Columbia.
yeah,
But then he does something really interesting.
even, I'd say, kind of radical for the time.
What's that?
He turns to YouTube.
Uh-huh.
And this wasn't exactly the standard path to comedy fame back then, was it?
Not at all back in the early 2000s.
YouTube was, I mean, it was practically uncharted territory.
Yeah.
For comedians, most of them were still grinding it out,
Yeah.
in the clubs, hoping to get noticed by, like, some network bigwig.
Right, right.
But Hofstetter, he saw an opportunity there.
To connect directly with audiences.
Yeah.
To build a fan base on his own terms.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just stand-up clips.
He was sharing this hilarious, like, heckler interaction.
Oh, yeah.
Which, let's be real,
Are pure gold for anyone who's ever bombed on stage. Or even just, like, witnessed a comedy show meltdown.
the best. Right.
Oh, the best.
Brilliant. Those videos were brilliant.
They showcased his quick wit, that ability to think on his feet.
Oh, yeah.
And it gave audiences something they couldn't get anywhere else.
Right.
That raw, unpredictable energy of live comedy.
But, packaged for the internet age,
It's so true, and it totally paid off.
because then comes 2014 and boom.
He lands a deal with Fox
Wow.
to host and executive produce his own show, Laughs,
That's huge.
which I have to say is a pretty big deal.
For a guy who, made his name battling hecklers online.
It was a watershed moment, honestly.
You have a network like Fox.
Yeah.
Taking a chance on someone who built their entire career outside of the traditional system. And
Right.
it proved that this whole, digital comedy thing.
It wasn't a fad. It was a legitimate path to success.
And speaking of shaking things up.
Can we talk about that 2006 album cover
Oh, boy.
for Cure for the Cable Guy? Because, wow.
Just wow. For those who haven't seen it.
Picture this. A Larry the Cable Guy doll. Literally hanging by a cable.
Bold move.
Bold move.
Considering Larry's massive popularity at the time.
Oh, absolutely. Larry the Cable Guy was, he was at the peak of his career.
And here comes Hofstetter, this comedian with, a very different style.
Right.
Releasing an album that felt like, I don't know, a direct critique of everything Larry represented.
Almost like he was single-handedly trying to start a comedy revolution, right?
Maybe.
Trading in the get our done for something a little more,
Shall we say thought-provoking.
a calculated risk for sure.
But, it paid off.
Remember those headlines?
How could I forget?
It seemed like every major newspaper,
From, the Orlando Sentinel.
to the Chicago Tribune, had something to say about it.
And that's the brilliance of it.
Right.
Love it or hate it, everyone was talking about it.
It's true.
Free publicity at its finest.
Exactly. And you know what it did? It positioned Hofstetter as,
The thinking man's comedian.
someone who wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo and,
Make you think while he made you laugh.
but then,
Just when you think you have him pegged. He goes and pulls a Radiohead with his next album.
No way.
Dark Side of the Room.
Making it pay what you want.
Revolution.
Talk about a curveball.
Especially for 2007.
Remember, iTunes was still relatively new.
Yeah.
Digital music was still, finding its footing.
And here's Hofstetter basically saying,
Look, I trust my fans to support me.
it's that direct connection again.
Right. He built this incredibly loyal fan base online.
And he knew they had his back.
And it was more than just, a savvy business move.
It was a statement,
Okay.
about the value of art
Yeah.
and the relationship between artists and their fans.
And as if that wasn't enough to shake up the industry.
He goes and creates this whole your tour concept.
Which, in
It
hindsight,
feels almost prophetic.
I was just thinking that.
Wow, right.
In today's world of crowdfunding
Yeah.
and direct-to-consumer everything.
Tell me about it.
Imagine explaining this to a comedian back in 2007.
Oh, I know.
You mean fans buy tickets?
Before we even announced the city.
It's incredible. He flipped the whole touring model on its head.
It really is.
Fans had a say in where he went,
Right.
which meant built-in audiences,
Yeah.
less risk for everyone involved.
Smart.
It's like he created this, self-sustaining comedy ecosystem,
Okay, so we've got this
entrepreneurial spirit,
the digital savvy,
Yeah.
the willingness to challenge norms.
all wrapped up in a guy who can absolutely destroy you with a one-liner.
What?
There's another layer to this onion.
Oh. Don't forget the books, He
Right.
doesn't just tell jokes on stage.
That's right.
The man can write.
It's funny you mention that.
Because I was just thinking about it.
Some of my favorite comedians.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Have these, incredibly insightful...
Often hilarious books
It's true.
that you wouldn't necessarily expect.
It's a different kind of stage, right?
Yeah. Totally.
In a book, you can really explore those ideas.
And stories in
Yeah.
a way you just can't.
With a 5-minute stand-up bit,
It's true.
And Hofstetter's books are like,
The perfect example.
what do you mean?
We're not talking.
Some cheesy joke compilation here. No ginger kid.
Yeah.
Follow your dream.
Yeah.
Unless your dream is stupid.
I love that one.
I mean, those titles alone,
Tell you you're in for a ride.
they really do. I think that's part of his appeal, though.
He doesn't shy away from,
Being honest
Yeah.
and vulnerable,
Right.
even when it's about something,
Yeah.
potentially touchy.
Sure.
Being
a ginger kid.
yeah, and that vulnerability.
That willingness to be, self-deprecating.
It creates this, really powerful connection
Oh, yeah.
with the audience because...
Who hasn't felt like the odd one out at some point, right?
Oh, tell me about it.
Right.
Absolutely. He's not afraid
Having
to.
fun of himself.
Yeah.
And in doing so...
He kind of makes it okay for the rest of us
Yes!
to laugh at ourselves, too.
So we've got this,
Multi-talented guy,
yeah,
comedian, author,
entrepreneur.
digital pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still going strong, by the way, that YouTube channel.
Don't even get me started.
Over 709,000 subscribers.
195 million views.
What? For a guy who started out filming hecklers in comedy clubs?
Those numbers speak for themselves.
They really do.
He tapped into something real,
Yeah.
Something people connect with.
And he's managed to stay relevant.
It's true.
Even as the internet has gone through,
I know.
about 1 million transformations since he started out.
It's true, and it's not just YouTube either.
He had that FS1 special, Finding Babe Ruth,
Oh, right.
which for a baseball fan like myself,
Was a real treat.
it's interesting, though,
Right. That he's able to jump from something
as a, raucous,
Yeah.
as a heckler takedown.
to something as, I don't want to say wholesome, but definitely more
Yeah,
family friendly.
like a show about Babe Ruth.
Totally.
It speaks to his range, I think.
I agree.
He's been on MLB Network,
Oh, wow.
which, again,
For a baseball fan.
pretty much a dream come true.
I bet.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We
We
have.
talked about his early days in New York.
His savvy use of YouTube,
Uh-huh.
his controversial album art.
His innovative touring model.
Yeah.
His books.
What does it all mean?
What can we learn from?
Like Steve Hofstetter, the man, the
Yeah.
myth,
Oh.
the comedy legend in the making.
When I look at his career,
What strikes me is
his constant drive to,
yeah,
push boundaries, challenge the status quo.
he could have easily just
Yeah.
ridden the wave of,
His early YouTube success.
Sure.
And just kept churning out those heckler videos.
Yeah, for sure.
But he didn't.
He never wanted to be put in a box, did he?
Exactly.
He kept experimenting.
Kept evolving. And he kept finding new ways.
I connect with audiences.
It's true.
He wasn't afraid to, I don't know.
Ruffle some feathers.
Okay.
Or take risks.
Yeah, that really seems to be
The common thread, right?
yeah.
Throughout his whole career.
From those early YouTube days to Cure for the Cable Guy.
To even the whole your tour concept.
Because he's constantly challenging
Himself and the industry.
right.
To kind of think differently,
And that's what makes him so fascinating.
He's not just
Reacting to the comedy landscape.
Right.
He's actively shaping it.
It's true.
I mean, he saw the potential of the internet.
before most comedians even, like, knew what YouTube was.
I know.
He understood that power of connecting directly with fans.
Before building a brand was even
right.
like a thing, you know?
That's true.
He was a pioneer, and honestly...
He's still innovating today.
Which brings us to, like, I guess...
the million-dollar question, right? What's next for Steve Hofstetter?
And I think, maybe even more importantly...
what can other comedians...
or really anyone, I guess...
could make it in, a creative field. What can they learn from his journey?
That's the beauty of a career like his,
It's ongoing.
Right.
It's always evolving. But I think, like...
a key takeaway here is,
the importance of authenticity and adaptability.
Sure.
Audiences can spot a fake a mile away.
You have to be true to yourself.
Right.
Through your voice.
Okay.
But you also have to be willing to adapt.
To that ever-changing landscape.
So it's not enough to be funny anymore.
You also have to be like...
a savvy entrepreneur, a digital marketer.
a content creator.
It's a lot to juggle.
It really is.
But
Hofstetter makes it look effortless.
He really does.
He's embraced,
the business side of comedy.
Yeah.
Without,
compromising his artistic integrity.
That's a good point.
And that, I think, is like...
the real lesson here. Well, there you have it.
a deep dive into the world of Steve Hofstetter.
A comedian who's proven that, laughter truly is the best algorithm.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
From heckler takedowns to thought-provoking albums from,
innovative tours to hilarious books.
He's defied expectations.
He really has.
And carved out, a really unique space.
In the world of comedy.
I agree.
Thanks to you out there.
For sending in this deep dive request.
It's been a wild ride.
It has, and until next time...
keep exploring.
Keep laughing.
And keep those deep dive requests coming.